Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking an incredibly exciting deep dive into a real game changer for Apple developers. We're talking about Anthropic's new Swift package, Claude for Foundation Models. If you've been tinkering with Apple's native foundation models framework and thinking, man, how do I inject some serious frontier-level AI power into my app without totally rewriting my codebase? Well, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to explore how this package essentially turbocharges Apple's native frameworks. It's literally like a seamless engine swap for your apps.
Okay, let's map out our journey today. We'll be hitting 5 main sections: adding Claude to Apple platforms, setup and requirements, unlocking frontier AI capabilities, moving to production safely, and finally, handling errors and limitations. All right, jumping right into section 1, adding Claude to Apple platforms. We're going to start with a big picture here, why this package actually exists, and exactly where it fits into your daily developer workflow. Look, Apple has done an absolutely fantastic job building on-device AI capabilities right into the ecosystem. It's incredibly impressive. But we do have to ask the critical question: what happens when on-device AI just isn't quite enough? Because as developers, we constantly hit a wall. When our users demand highly complex reasoning or maybe access to live external data, a lightweight local model simply can't carry that load. And this comparison brilliantly illustrates our core strategy. On one side, you've got Apple's on-device models. They're blazingly fast, entirely private, and work completely offline. Absolute perfection for quick, lightweight tasks. But on the flip side, dropping Claude in as a server-side model brings massive context windows, frontier-level reasoning, and really powerful server tools. The best part? You don't have to choose. You can seamlessly escalate to Claude only when your app actually needs that serious server-side muscle. Moving right along to section 2, setup and requirements. And honestly, what's really wild here is how little you actually have to do to get this powerful system up and running. Let's look at the baseline requirements. Because this package targets Apple's brand new server-side language model API, you absolutely must be on the beta tracks. So specifically, you need the OS 7 betas. That covers iOS, macOS, visionOS, or watchOS 7. You're also going to need the Xcode 7 beta. And finally, just a standard Claude API key from the Anthropic console for your development. Now, one super important note straight from the docs. Your requests go directly from your app to the Claude API. Apple isn't in the middle, they don't see your prompts, and the usage is just billed to your regular Anthropic account. Getting this into your project is totally frictionless. We're talking 3 quick steps. First, just add the package URL in Xcode or your package Swift file. Second, add the Claude for Foundation Models dependency right to your target. And third, import it alongside foundation models in your code. That's it. It's exactly like adding any standard Swift package you use every single day. Okay, section 3, unlocking frontier AI capabilities. Let's get to the really fun part and see how this builds out into massive features, all without changing your existing workflow. I really want you to think of this as the ultimate engine swap. Apple gives you the dashboard, right? The steering wheel, the pedals, the dials, that's their language model session API. You already know exactly how to drive it. But instead of that standard system model, you're dropping Anthropic's massive V8 engine under the hood. All you do is pass Claude language model as the argument instead of the system model. That is literally it. You drive it the exact same way. Respond commands, streaming, tool calling, the whole shebang works identically. Now, let's talk about effort. Basically, how hard do we want the AI to think? Claude supports 5 distinct effort levels: low, medium, high, X-high, and max. But here's the catch. Apple's native framework reasoning hints currently stop at high. Because we're using Claude, though, you can use the package's fixed effort parameter to pin that level for every single request. That overrides Apple's framework hints, and it's the only way to tap into Claude's absolute deepest thinking capabilities by asking for X-high or max. So a crucial point here is how this handles structured data. You're probably familiar with Apple's @generable annotation, the one that forces the AI to return output that perfectly matches your custom Swift types. Well, as long as your chosen Claude model supports it, and right now all the compiled-in constants do, this package guarantees those structured outputs natively through Claude's API. Just annotate the type and request it. And if you happen to pick an unsupported model, the package smartly throws an error instead of just silently failing. It keeps your debugging totally clean and predictable. Tool use is another area where this hybrid setup completely shines. The framework's client-side tools, they work totally unchanged. You just conform your types to tool, pass them in, and the device handles it when Claude calls them. But you also gain server-side tools. We're talking web search, web fetch, code execution, and they run entirely on Anthropic's infrastructure. They execute in a single round trip with zero overhead on your user's actual device. It's pretty amazing. And naturally, the package fully supports all the rich media interactions you'd expect. For text, Stream Response works perfectly, giving you those cumulative snapshots of the response as it generates. For vision, if you select a model that takes image input, you just pass your images directly through Apple's standard framework API. The package does all the heavy lifting behind the scenes to convert that image into the exact format Claude's API requires. It's completely transparent to you. All right, Section 4, moving to production safely. Playing in the sandbox is a blast, but actually leaving it requires a serious reality check about app authentication. I'm going to read this quote directly from the documentation because it is absolutely crucial. A key bundled into an app is extractable. Use .api key for development only and switch to a proxy before release. Guys, if you hard-code your Anthropic API key into your compiled app binary, someone is going to extract it, and they'll start making requests billed straight to your account. Actually, let's be honest, nobody wants that kind of surprise bill. You've got to protect your credentials. So to protect that billing account, the package gives us a proxy flow for production. Here's the breakdown. First, you configure the package with the .proxied auth mode, and you point it to your own backend server. Second, your backend proxy gets the standard request, authenticates the specific app user, and then attaches your secret XAPI key header safely on the server side. Finally, your proxy forwards it to Anthropic. Boom, your app ships with absolutely zero keys inside it. Which brings us to Section 5, handling errors and limitations. Because it's the real world, network-dependent tech has hiccups, and we need to set some clear expectations. What's really fantastic about this package is the totally seamless translation of errors. It maps Claude's API errors directly onto Apple's native language model error cases. So if you hit a context window overflow on Claude's end, your app just catches it as a native .context size exceeded. Get an HTTP 429, too many requests? Your app sees .rate limited. This means you can use your standard Swift pattern matching to handle cloud errors exactly the way you'd handle local on-device ones. Now, we do need to be upfront and map out the unsupported features. The rule of thumb here is super simple. If a feature doesn't have a representation in Apple's Foundation Models protocol, you aren't going to access it through this package. That means no configurable prompt caching, though to be fair, the package does apply caching automatically behind the scenes. But no custom stop sequences, no batch processing, no files API, and no token counting. But wait, this right here illustrates the true power of this whole engine swap architecture. Let's say you send off a massive request to Claude, but the network is congested and you get a .rate limited error back. Because Claude and Apple's system models share the exact same API, you can catch that error and instantly fall back to the system language model just for that specific turn. Your user gets a completely graceful downgrade to the on-device model without missing a single beat or seeing a crash. That is incredibly resilient design. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a provocative thought. With Claude 4 foundation models seamlessly bridging that gap between strict local privacy and frontier-level cloud intelligence, will your next app rely purely on the device, strictly on the cloud, or will you embrace this dynamic, best-of-both-worlds approach to build something truly revolutionary? The tools are officially in your hands now. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy coding.